My name is Pam Mertz, and I am
Hmm.
I work part-time for the NSA, and one of the people that sets up the NSA Connects sessions, and I'm really proud to be part of this one tonight because we've never really talked about what pronounced stuttering is and the impact it has on people that stutter more noticeably or pronouncedly, if that's a word, than those that stutter more like mildly or moderately. Um, so again, the name of the session is NSA Connects with Pronounced Stuttering. And Vicky is saying that she can't hear anything. Vicky, you might want to just check your audio.
Hey, this is Steve. Uh, 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 I, 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 I,
Okay, well,
you
oh,
know how I can fix it?
I'm not sure, Vicky. You might have to just check the your computer
Oh,
audio.
oh,
I thought you knew that.
I, d- I, I did. I just forgot it.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on mute, Vicky, while you guys figure that out, all right? Okay. So as we go through the session, I just want to remind you to everybody keep their mics muted on unless you're speaking. We're gonna wait until the end for us to take questions. The plan is for us to provide content for 40 minutes or so, and then we're going to open up the conversation to all. When that time comes, you can, we'll take questions either by you raising your hand physically or by using the raise hand function down on the bottom. And that would be if you find the react key down on the bottom, you'll see that there's an icon for raise hand. And I am now going to lower my hand. And then the goal and the outcome tonight, just real quickly, I'm going to share that. Interacting with people who have different stuttering experiences and behaviors can raise questions, sometimes a lot of questions. What's the best way to show respect? Should I wait longer? Should I respond differently? What if I get it wrong? Rather than guessing, we're giving you an opportunity to hear directly from people with a range of stuttering experiences. Our goal tonight is to have an open and insightful conversation about what pronounced stuttering is like and how those with more pronounced stuttering would like others to interact with them. Notice that we're saying pronounced stuttering rather than severe because personally I dislike that word, and I think many of us in this Zoom room might agree. So at this point, I'm going to ask our panelists. I'm serving as moderator, kind of, sort of, but I'm also going to be jumping in and sharing some of my own experiences also. So I'd like for our panelists to introduce themselves. We'll start with Haley.
Hi, my name is Haley, and I'm from California. Um, I, I've pretty much stuttered my whole life, and I've been involved with the National Stuttering Association for the last 5 years, and it's helped tremendously with my confidence, and I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation.
As we are to have you with us tonight, Haley. Matt?
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt. I'm from Ontario, Canada. I'm a big sports guy. I play sports. I watch sports. I'm big into gaming. I like to watch movies and TV shows. I've recently, I've just been getting into in into philosophy. Um, and of course, I love hanging out with friends and family. I'm a cat, Scotty. I've been a person who stutters for as long as I can remember. Um, I would say up until I want to say high school that it was more of a moderate stutter, and over time it eventually became a more a pronounced stutter. I never had like the secondary motions up until around high school time. Um, and I'm now becoming big advocate for stuttering and advocating as much as possible. And I'm just working on my own acceptance and understanding myself.
All right. Thank you, Matt. And we're so happy to have you with us tonight. And Nicole?
Hello, everybody. My name is Nicole Kumatevsky. I am a speech therapist. I do not stutter. I currently work in a preschool and I see stuttering clients privately after school. And I'm sort of here to offer the SLP perspective of things. If anybody has any questions regarding that, whether you're an SLP looking for treatment questions of someone with a more pronounced stutter, or if you're just curious as to like how we go about things, I'm here to answer those questions for you guys.
Okay, great. And we're really happy that you're here as well, because we definitely like to have the perspective of the speechies in our world. So I'm gonna start off. I consider myself to be a mild to moderate stutterer, and I was covert for more than 35 years of my life, which was uh fairly easy to do, because I chose to avoid speaking much of the time. People that have more noticeable or overt stuttering, I know they don't have necessarily the opportunity to do that as easily as I did. But I want to just share a story, an encounter that I had with somebody that at the time was a person that had the most pronounced stutter that I had ever seen up to that point. I took a trip to London back in 2010, so 15 years ago. Amazing. And I had researched my trip to and I had seen that the British Stammering Association would be having one of their support group meetings while I was there. So I decided, here I am, an American visiting London, and what was I going to do? I was going to make sure that I went to a British Stammering Association meeting while I was on vacation. They're now called STAMA, but back then they were the BSA. And I met a woman whose name is Christine, and she stuttered more pronouncedly than I had ever met a person with such a severe, but I hate that word, but at the time, that's what I thought. She had very long prolongations, repeated on every word, and had this clicking with her tongue. And I remember thinking, oh my God, thank God I don't stutter as bad as her. And I thought to myself, oh my God, how can a person who stutters possibly think that of another person who stutters? I was horrified, absolutely horrified that I thought that. And I immediately felt profoundly guilty. Now, the British Stammering Association meetings were held in a bar, of course, in a pub. So they had their meetings upstairs and the pub was downstairs. So they were 3-hour meetings. They took a half-hour break. So during the break, I went up to her and I said, hey, Christine, my name's Pam. I just want to share something with you. And I told her, I said, I want you to know that my first reaction was horror, that I thought that, thank God I don't stutter as bad as you. And she took my hands and she said, thank you for having the courage and the honesty to share that with me. She said, I know people think that. I know people think that. It's very difficult to listen to me. It's more difficult for somebody to be honest and courageous. And she said, I really appreciate that you took this moment and spoke to me about it. And I started crying because I didn't expect that reaction. And then she started crying, and it was just this whole moment. And we are best friends to this day. But also to this day, I have never met another person who stutters as pronouncedly as she does. And she doesn't care. She conveys her thoughts, she says what she has to do, and I actually treasured that moment. Like I was so overwhelmed with guilt. And the only way that I knew how to rectify that was to march up to her and deal with it and say something. So being able to now, today, 15 years later, talk about the impact of pronounced stuttering with other people and recognize that it's not always easy, but it's important for people of all different, I guess, pieces, or I want to say like all different positions on the spectrum of stuttering. It's important that we realize that there is a spectrum, and that it's okay. That it's okay. And I value that Christine and I are still friends after 15 years, and that moment really made a difference in my life. So I wanted to just share that to kind of set the tone for why it was important for me to be able to have this open and honest and insightful conversation, we hope, about, what it's like for the different degrees of stuttering. So, so I'm just gonna, as a moderator, just gonna, toss some topics out there. Some of the points that we want to cover. I'll start off with eye contact for either Haley or Matt to jump in and talk about. When you're stuttering and it's taking, 45 to 60 seconds for you to get your name out or any phrase, how long does eye contact, how long should you continue with eye contact before it feels like staring? Like, and is it okay to avert eye contact? Tell us like what feels comfortable. Matt?
I could go first. Yeah, okay. Sorry. I know for me, in terms of eye contact, I have a lot of avoidance with that. I tend to just I look away, or I just I I shut my eyes entirely. I guess because of just having a lot um of reactions from other people who are not sure how to respond or keep eye contact. And I know it's something that if um how do I put it? Like if you can work on that aspect, it can help your speech. But I'm at a point where I'm just it 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 makes me more uh comfortable if I look away or I shut my eyes. And I would say it's because you asked if it's okay, right? That's kind of the point you made.
Mhm.
I I I personally think it's okay. I think everyone's stutter it is a different case, and I think I think a person should go about it and the best way how they see it.
So if I'm talking with you, how long should I maintain eye contact with you before it becomes like I'm staring too long? Like,
Yeah.
because like if you look away, which is certainly fine, how long should should I, the person talking with you, continue making eye contact before it gets all weird?
Um, I would say just as long as possible. And I mean, it's a natural thing as well in a conversation. If you look away, even just outside of having a stutter too, like it's a natural thing to not make eye contact the whole time. So I I personally I wouldn't say like I have an exact like amount of eye contact. I would say however the other person sees fit, because as because I understand as well, like it's something that um I, I I understand it can be sometimes hard to keep up with everything I'm trying to say. So it's entirely entirely based on that person. Like um I don't see a person any kind of way, like if they're avoiding eye contact the whole time, if they're keeping it the whole time. I just kind of I get the I get the point made, and I move on with uh, 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 I move on to what I have going on next. So I try not to overthink that too much.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Haley?
Yeah, I agree with Matt. Even though I'm a person who likes to make eye contact when I'm speaking, as long as the person looks at me for a couple seconds, I can tell they're engaged with me and what I have to say, but like the person doesn't have to stare at me the whole time, as long as I can tell that they're actively listening.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Nicole, like as a SLP, like what's your thoughts? Like, do you encourage eye contact with your with the clients that you work with who stutter?
So kind of going off of like, both Matt and Haley are sort of saying like, treat me as if you're talking to anyone else, right? And everybody's different. And you can't put like a time limit on how many seconds of eye contact you can, attain. But if eye contact is becoming part of like an avoidance of stuttering or stuttered moments, then perhaps we can look into working on maintaining that eye contact in order to minimize that avoidance, and really just like become one with your stuttering again. And if that's something the client wants to work on, or they say, oh, I want to work on my eye contact because I want to appear more confident. And that's something we can totally work on, but we're never projecting goals onto our clients. Like, oh, you need to make eye contact when you're talking, because that's not completely necessary. I don't have to like stare into your soul all the time for you to know that I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an excellent point. Thank you. In our culture, when we meet somebody for the first time, we generally shake hands. And so when somebody is stuttering and it takes them, the 45 to 60 seconds to say their name, how long do you hold the handshake? Because like it can get like pretty sweaty and clammy there if you're holding, the hand for however long it takes for the person to get their name out. So has anybody, have either of you guys experienced that? Or like I have, and I feel uncomfortable like pulling back, but like it's also uncomfortable when my hand gets sweaty from holding on to somebody else's hand like for a long time. So like, has anybody experienced that? Matt or Haley? Or and I see somebody in the chat wrote like, love the handshake question. Like it happens, right? So like, Haley, I see you came off mute. So what's your thoughts?
I mean, most of the time it goes like pretty smooth, but I think people think it's polite to keep holding your hand if you're speaking, and I understand that that, but for me, it's easy to just do a like 3-second handshake, and then if I'm still speaking, I'll just like pull away, and I think that's more comfortable than just like holding on. Yeah.
Matt?
I find for me, I can't think of a specific situation where I had that happen. I'm sure along the line somewhere it did happen, but I just can't remember. I find for me in introductions and stuff, in that first like initial handshake, like I can say like hi, and say my name, and it's just kind of like a in and out kind of handshake, like just a couple seconds. But it's interesting after COVID too, because I never know like if because in the time of COVID, like all of us had been told like not to shake hands, so I guess sometimes I ask myself like, are they gonna want to shake hands or not shake hands? So I don't I but I would say if it does happen, like it's okay. That's a part of having a stutter. Um and just handle it the best way you think is possible. And yeah.
Yeah, I like the comment that Sophie made in the chat. Permission to everyone to let my hand go after a quick shake. I don't want to hold anyone's hand while fighting to get my name out. That is like the perfect answer, compromise to that question. And in some cultures, like shaking hands is like taboo, so it's just like maybe in just Western cultures we do that, but in Eastern cultures they don't, so it's really interesting. I know Lindsay has her hand raised, but Lindsay, if you don't mind, could we wait for your question? Because we talked about waiting until the end for questions, and hopefully you're okay with that?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah. Because we wanted to go through like maybe 45 minutes of content, which we're coming up on close. We're getting close to that anyway. I wanted to ask you guys about interruptions. Like, have you experienced interruptions? Like, have people tried to interrupt you, or like guessed what you were trying to say, and either attempted to interrupt you and fill in the word or phrase that you were getting ready to say, and how do you feel about that?
Yes, I have had that experience, and I think that a lot of people are well-meaning, and they see a person stuttering, and they have this like instinct to help, but when the person is guessing the word 90% of the time, it's not the word that I was actually gonna say. And so it kind of trips me up, and I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. So I appreciate it when people will just wait. And I know it can be hard when you're talking to a person who has like a lot of blocks, but that's just the easiest and my opinion.
Yeah. Matt?
I would say it happens often where a person will interject and attempt to like attempt to say the word I'm trying to say. And like Haley said, I'm sure a lot of the time it's coming from a good place and they want to just help. I'm sure in some cases it's just a person being impatient, but I know for me personally, I've reached the point where especially if it's a person I'm comfortable with, I'm okay if I'm in like a if I'm getting stuck hard, like I'm okay if they just if they say the word. But something I've been working on is it's it's not and interjections is exactly, but if a person asks me something and I'm trying to say it, but it I just won't it it's not coming out. I have to make a comment like asking me again, and that in kind of like a impatient way, I'll just say now like I'm trying to get it out, like hold on. So I've been working on that, but in terms of if a person's like interjecting, if it's a person that I'm comfortable with and they know what I'm trying to say, like I'm okay if they just say it.
Hmm. Interesting. And so is the comment that Carolina wrote in the chat. When interruptions are done in a rude way, I love to politely but firmly tell them that they are not a psychic. So they better let me finish speaking because it will be faster than them guessing. I love that. So, just a couple more questions and then we're gonna go ahead and turn it over to, audience participation because there are some great comments, and I want to hear, hear from the audience. Do more pronounced stutterers want to be more fluent, or is that just an assumption? I'm not sure if Haley or Matt want to answer that, or if Nicole wants to maybe share a perspective on that. As I know we talked about that when we were prepping for this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't answer this from a stutterer's perspective, whether or not someone with a more pronounced stutter wants to be more fluent, but I think that we often put that assumption on our clients. And something that came up in our discussions about this was like, I almost feel like some speech therapists want more pronounced stutterers because then there's more things to sort of latch onto and fix, right? There's more secondary behaviors, there's more things to, it's more pronounced, so it's happening more often. And the SLP can be like, oh, my client's stuck in a block, let's do some fluency shaping strategies. Whereas I think it would be really difficult with a covert stutterer to even know where to begin with things like that. So I think SLPs, will see a stutterer that's more decorated, as I like to call, and they are, projecting that, oh my gosh, this person is struggling so much, or this person totally wants fluency, right? Because they're so severe, and I'm putting all this in quotes, right? And I just don't think that's necessarily true. And like you were saying with the word severe, just because somebody has a more pronounced stutter doesn't mean that they are struggling. Like those don't equal each other. And I think a lot of times we think that they do.
Yeah. Haley or Matt, you want to add to that?
Yeah, yeah, it's a hard question because there are days when I really struggle, and I'm like, it would be great if speaking was easy and I could just speak this out, um eh, but like as I've gotten older, I've just kind of accepted that I'll have my hard days or my hard blocks, but I just like accepted that. I've been to tons of speech therapy, and I've chased fluency for a really long time, and now I'm ready to just be like peace with myself.
Yeah. Matt?
Having that inner peace is priceless. Um, I I agree with Haley though. Like I've been through a lot of speech therapy because um as a kid back in like in elementary school and whatnot, um s- 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 stuttering was something that uh, uh was something that had to be fixed. Like it was something that that had to be worked on. And so it wasn't up until a few years ago where I found a online uh community where um I I I I talked about my experiences, and they kind of had talked to me about like, acceptance and understanding that it's okay to stutter. So it's something I'm still working on is acceptance. In terms of fluency, I'd say it's not something that I I think it's not something I think like I have to achieve. Like I've accepted that I'm a person who stutters. Um, but I do think I can work on some of those avoidance behaviors, and it wouldn't be because of I want like social acceptance or something, or to fit in. It'd be more so it's not as exhausting for myself to speak. Um, so I'd be doing it for that reason.
Yeah. And I think before we open it up to everybody to share experiences, I just want to just add that last week when we were prepping, we talked about acceptance. And one of the things that you had said, Matt, was simply, it is what it is. And that can apply to so many things. But in this instance, we're talking about stuttering and, pronounced stuttering. It is what it is, and I think when you reach that point and you can say that about stuttering, it does go a long way towards acceptance. So I just really loved how you summed that up last week, and it's worth, throwing out there for other people to hear that that's, what your thought is on acceptance. So thank you. So let's open it up and hear what other people, are thinking. And, because in the comments, I'm hearing people share that this is such a great conversation. And we had hoped that it would be, because it's not something that is generally talked much about. So does anybody have a comment or feedback or a question they'd like to start us off with? You can physically raise your hand or use the raise hand icon down on the bottom. I know Lindsay, you had wanted to raise your hand, but Jeremiah beat you to it. So let's take Jeremiah first and then maybe Lindsay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremiah. I'm a person who stutters. For the first question, it was very interesting that both Haley and Matt said it. Just like it doesn't matter. I mean, if the person who like we're talking to turns their head while like we're blocking or certain wise, as long as they're paying attention to us wise. Because like I've always like learned and like thought, just like we always keep eye contact. Like for me wise, it's just like yeah, if the person is stuttering for about a minute or two, I'm still gonna give that eye contact. So it's very interesting. Other people that have like the pronounce a stutter or just people who stutter, they don't mind that yeah, if the person who they're talking to like just turn their heads or blinks at times. So that's very, very interesting. I like to hear. So thank you.
Someone else? Grace? Gregory? There's two Graces here.
Getting back to acceptance, I think that in order to change anything, I have to accept it. And it took me a long time to accept the fact that I did stutter. But then once I was able to get there, now what am I going to do about it? And I think I heard Nicole mention working on it. I come from the speech therapy school, and I think I learned tools, and I think my tools in moments of stress, anxiety, give me something to pull from to lessen some of my anxiety, to lessen some of my struggle. So I think once I could accept the fact that I stuttered and then worked on, okay, now what can I do? And how can I make it a little easier? Not that stuttering is the worst thing that can happen, but it is interruptive in that communication process. And just because of that alone, gave me the desire to lessen my struggle and make the relating a little easier.
Thank you, Grace. Annabelle is next, and then we'll go to Vicky. Annabelle?
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. So I had a comment to say because from what Pam said before and like in the beginning of like how she just wanted to let Christine know that she was having those thoughts. So I would say that for me, so I've like always, I guess in a way, like like had challenges with um with fully listening to someone who has a pronounced stutter. And so it's like I don't catch the full information provided. And I have been trying to
to work to just really listen, because I ask for my listeners to listen to me, and and um to give me patience when I speak. So I should be able to do the same thing. And so I just wanted to point that out, just in case that there was anyone else um 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 um, um who had those same challenges and were embarrassed by it. But like, I feel that we have to be true to ourselves, because even though we are all people who stutter, and we all stutter differently, we are all human. We all judge, and we all make mistakes. No, but at least if you are just being truthful about it and working towards doing better, well then it just shows that you are trying.
Thank you, Annabelle. Vicky?
I I I just wanted to say that this entire conversation is making me think about Russ Hicks. B- 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 Um, b- 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 big b- because he and I were both very overt in our stuttering, and 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 when we heard about the concept of 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 covert stuttering, we were both really puzzled at first. It 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 was like, you can actually hide your uh, st uttering? What's your problem? Why are you here? But bum, uh, but then as 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 we got to know more covert stutterers, well, we realized that really was a problem. And it's 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 not the same for us, but because we couldn't hide it, even if we wanted to, unless we wanted to be completely mute. But in a strange way, that gave us a a certain kind of freedom. Be- 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 because with us, well, oh, we were never trying to be something we weren't simply because we couldn't. What you heard was what you got. And but the people who could hide it and did hide it, they they were also hiding parts of themselves as a- 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 as I wrote in the notes. One thing that I have never ever done is that I I I I I I I have never ordered something that I didn't want in a restaurant big 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 because it was easier to say because if everything is difficult to say, then you may as well stutter on what you want. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you for sharing that, Vicky. And to your point about, those of us who could hide stuttering, it was very difficult to do that. And I felt trapped. And I also felt like my insides were screaming to let my authentic self out, and when I finally did, it was so liberating to just stutter instead of thinking all the time of what word could I say that would come out fluently, or like just all that stuff that I did to sound fluent just took so much energy. And now it's just far easier to just stutter than it is to think about all that other crap. That also made me a lousy listener because I never listened to what my communication partner was saying, because I was rehearsing what I thought I would be able to say fluently. And it was so ridiculous that I did that for so long. And I'm so happy that I don't waste time doing that anymore. Sophie.
Thank you for this conversation. I have a que que question for Haley and Matt about a- 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 advertising
in situations where you have to speak quickly, like ordering a coffee. It's often suggested to me, but I don't like there's always this calculation of time. Is it worth it? How much more time is it gonna take? Like, uh, uh, I can't just like quickly say it and then move on.
Yeah, when I graduated college, I had a speech pathologist who worked with me on telling people that I stutter when I would go to order coffee, and I the first couple of times that I tried it, I was like nervous that the person like wouldn't care like that I'm telling them this, but I did it, and it made the interaction go a lot smoother because the person just like understood, okay, it's a speech thing, and they weren't like questioning what was happening. So sometimes if I feel like I have a lot of stuttering, I'll tell the person who I'm talking to, and it usually makes it a lot like smoother of an interaction. And
I know for me, I like to I I I like I like to I let people know that I have a stutter. I find that it makes interactions a lot easier because I've gotten a lot of looks from people who look like they're not sure exactly what's going on, and I have found for me that it but just makes it easier for them to understand like um how I'm speaking. And I look at it in a way now of, because I've gone like, I have a mindset of just spreading awareness and also self advocacy. And I look at it as well now as a way of spreading awareness um and just other ways to advocate for all of us. Um and about taking up time, Sophie, I would say I I wouldn't ever look at a situation based on how, because I used to feel like I was taking up other people's time as well. But now I've reached the point where I'm going to take as long as I need, and it is what it is. Like it's it's uh it's important that you take up as much time as you need.
Hmm. You go, Matt. That's the whole point of this. Grace, Gregory.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Haley and Matt, for your participation in this. As far as self-disclosing, I find that when I self-disclose, it takes away some of my anxiety. So I would do it sometimes for that reason, but it also puts it out there that there's nothing, no elephant sitting in the middle of the room that nobody's talking about. Thanks.
Yeah. That's an excellent point, because if we leave those elephants in the room, it leaves something hanging there, that like leaves a pallor over the room that like people are afraid to address, and that doesn't leave much room for open and honest communication or conversation about anything. So that's a really good, 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 good point. And Annabelle, and then Carolina.
Um, so, to what Sophie was saying, so another way that possibly she could take the pressure off of her while while also being able to disclose. It's that it's that the Stuttering Foundation, they have like ID cards that you can print out, and you can provide the ID card, and it's gonna say that you are a person who stutters and what that means. And then possibly when you provide them with that card, you would feel a little bit more calmer um to um 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 to to talk now. And because then they would kind of like understand more about how you will talk to them, and they may be more willing to they may be more willing to give you the patience needed. Because I know that when you are trying to like introduce yourself and like trying to disclose, it's possibly when you have your most pronounced stuttering, because it's such a stressful situation. So if you want to try that that option to begin, and then when you feel more comfortable and you have and when you have had practice, then you can try without the card too. So so it's just there to help you um if it's ever needed.
Yes, thank you, Annabelle, for bringing up that point. Carolina.
Oh, hi, everybody. Um, so I have to say that my journey to acceptance was definitely a two layered journey. Um, Accepting that I stutter wasn't too challenging, because I had a speech pathologist at about age 9, so she kind of helped me a lot. Sorry. And so the part for me that really became a challenge is that people put like the labels of profound, severe, all of these and negative connotations, and it just pushed me not to want to ask for help to kind of prove I didn't have such a profound problem. And it took a long time to kind of understand that I could write my own story, and I don't have to fit into anyone's box. And I can also tell people not to put that in their medical notes. If I had a problem about it, and explain. And so it is still tough, but I believe that the more open conversations us as people who have a more pronounced stutter, we will make it more what's the term that people say, make it more it's the word, like, not acceptable, but make it more normalized. Yeah, kind of normalized, but also is seen in a more a positive perspective, and also something to be talked about. And it's also good, and I hope that we'll also be seeing more speakers at the conference who also speak as I speak, and normalize that, yeah, the person's going to take up space and take up time, and that's the way it goes, and we have to all accept each other, and yeah, and get equal representation. But today's a good start, and I look forward to a bright future as a leading organization for people who stutter. Yay.
Thank you for sharing that, Carolina. And that actually was the goal and the hope of doing something like this. You know, you hear more voices that are mild and moderate showcased, and we need to make room for all of the voices. So it's too late in 2025, but we hope to be able to do an in-person workshop like this in 2026. And you know, make more noise about, you know, people who stutter more pronouncedly. Again, I don't know if that's really a word, but you know, and have people who with more pronounced stutters up on the stage, introducing people, you know, announcing awards, you know, because that's important. You know, it can't just be the same old people. So we're hoping that this is just the start, you know, and this really was a great conversation tonight. I'm really happy to have been the moderator and have such a great panel. Haley, Matt, Nicole, thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight, and thank you all for attending and asking great questions and being open and honest, and thank you.